There was a USA Today story recently that was so disturbing to me. It involved a gentleman who had been a commander in the U.S. Navy, served the U.S. Navy with distinction, honored our nation with his service for 24 years, retired in 1992. This gentleman had no spouse, no kids, and developed enormous wealth, always lived a very careful life, was a very diligent investor, and built up millions of dollars. Problem was, he had developed dementia. And criminals, con artists, had targeted him and stole millions of dollars from him, discovered by an adult niece. And the two financial institutions that he was doing business with, Wells Fargo and Navy Federal Credit Union, both did what they're required to by law, that they, in fact, notified government authorities. He lived in the state of Virginia, notified government authorities in the state of Virginia that they're required to do now at financial institutions when they believe one of their customers has lost mental reasoning or mental capability. So they reported it to the state of Virginia, but continued to send money out of the accounts of this retired Navy commander till virtually every penny that Larry Cook, Commander Cook, retired U.S. Navy, who did so much for his country, Navy Federal and Wells Fargo continued, even though they already knew that he had diminished mental capacity, continued to wire money out to the crooks, one wire after another, till they'd stolen $3.6 million, which his niece discovered as she tried to take care of his affairs after he passed away at 76 years old. Now, both Navy Federal and Wells are being sued over their failure to live up to their legal duty and responsibility. Both refused to comment. And this happens again and again and again. And ultimately in court, all the details will come out over time. And it's not to pick on Wells Fargo and Navy Federal alone, because this happens again and again, that we're asking a lot of financial institutions and brokerages, but they're who the criminals use as their gateway to steal the money of America's elderly. And they've got to do more. We trust our banks and credit unions and brokerages with our life savings, our life's money, and they've got to do a better job. And in a family, it's hard. We're busy. And again, as I've said on many occasions, we're spread all over the country, and we lose that touch. So the banks are playing something that I think comes from Latin, in loco parentis. They fill in. Chris is going to look that up for me. The banks, under the law, because they're the gateway to help the criminals steal the money, the banks have a duty under law to acting or done in the place of a parent. I'm pretty sure it's Latin. I'm not sure. Anyway, it can't be halfway done. And know that this happens again and again, that the banks, the brokerages, the credit unions fall down on the job. And so that's why family has got to be involved. Usually it's not going to be an adult niece like this. It's going to be adult children who are only going to discover the ugliness after a parent goes into assisted living or a parent passes away and is passed too late. That money takes a one-way trip. The criminals are clever. They steal that money and they get away with it almost always. So knowing that the people who are given the in loco parentis responsibility, the banks, credit unions, and brokerages, don't do what the law requires, means that it's up to family members to stay involved and, as I say, be nosy with your aging relatives. Krista?
And that is most definitely Latin, for sure.
Do you know that was like the only course in school I got an A in? I was number one in my class in Latin in high school.
I didn't know you took Latin.
Yeah, I took 2 years of Latin.